said, no. I said, am I your drummer? And he was kind of like, he might have been trying to fire me. He kind of looks perplexed. He goes, yeah. I said, look, if I'm your drummer, I'm going to stay here and watch these guys record my parts. You don't have to pay me anything. I'll sleep on the floor. And because I'm going to benefit from learning from these guys and get better, because I benefit, you'll benefit because I'm your drummer. He didn't know what to say. So he just
convinced him. You sold him on yourself, right?
Yeah, but the weird thing is I don't know where those words came from. I think I was backed up against the wall. And these are key moments in your life where you react to things, and you just do. It was my personality. It was my makeup. I can't even take credit for anything, but that was just the way Kenny Aronoff reacted in that situation for many, many reasons, but without describing why, I did do that. That's the thing. I did it, and that basically I did stay there for a month, and I learned a lot. It was humbling. I was embarrassed at times. I wasn't the most popular guy, but when I got done, I went home, and I practiced, 8 hours a day, trying to learn the styles of these drummers, and, just worked on tuning, made a list of things I needed to do to improve, and it was a slow beginning of me making a name for myself.
Do you ever think back, because that's really a story of persistence, man, and I think your persistence has propelled you to become one of the most recorded and biggest session drummers in the world. I mean, really, when I think of the dudes on the heaviest session drummers these days, I think of you, and I think of Josh Freese. And I think, and I always sit here and I try, instead of just thinking about it from a drummer perspective, because Rockin' Lifestyle is more about everything. It's not just about drumming. It's about attitude and I think about your story, and I think, man, imagine what would have happened if you would have said, okay, this isn't working out, I'll go home. I mean,
I know.
Could you imagine, like, your whole future, your whole destiny would have changed directions? I mean, because even though, you were with Mellencamp, you've done a million more things since. A million. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
But that was like the door opening for you, so to speak, right?
That was a key moment in my life. There's a bunch of them. That was one of the biggest ones. And to add to that, I promised myself I would do whatever it took. Put up with whatever crap, whatever I needed to make the next record. Now, the next record took 9 weeks in Criteria in Miami, which was a painful, slow process. And after that 9 weeks, John had fired 2 guys. We come back, and I thought the record's done. It was like I'd gone to Afghanistan, did my mission, came home, and all of a sudden they go, guess what, dude? No, not even come home. On my way home, they decide to send me back. Because after 5 weeks, John said, we have only recorded 5 songs. This record's not done. I'm like, oh, no. So we got together, we started working every day, 5, 6 days a week. Went back to L.A. months and months later and recorded. Now, that record had Hurt So Good and Jack and Diane on it. And Jack and Diane was that big drum break, and that's still being played today on the radio, 25, 30 years later. Dude, when that Jack and Diane drum solo and that song, we had not arranged it. We tried to arrange it in the practice room before we went to Miami, but we couldn't figure it out, what to do with it. And, of course, whatever problems we had trying to figure it out were magnified in the studio. And I remember one day John coming in, and the point of the story is it's another crossroads. I remember John coming in and going, they had this Lynn drum machine. They said, well, why don't we program a drum beat, on this Lynn drum machine. I'm like, God, back then I was thinking a drum machine replacing a drummer? That sucks. So anyway, nevertheless, I got the manual out and I programmed the drum beat that's on that record. And then I'm back in the other room and kind of bummed out I'm not playing drums on this one song. It's funny because nowadays you just go, whatever. It's a drum machine. That's typical, you know. Then the next day they go, hey, we need a drum solo because this song still is boring. And let me tell you something. You're thinking drum solo on a ballad? I mean, I'm thinking, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
We spent 5 hours trying to get a drum sound because, like I mentioned, we didn't know how to get big drum sounds back then. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew how to do that. So we had the drums in this big room. We had mics everywhere. We spent, it felt like all day trying to get a big drum sound. Finally get the drum sound. Now I got to come up with a solo. So I just thought, I'll just go, John says, come in there. So I go, the drum machine's going, goose, 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 bat, goose, 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 bat, goose, 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 boom, blam. And I stop. And I look up at the control room and John goes, cool. Because I kept thinking, less is more, less is more. Yeah. Now I'm thinking, what am I going to do next? So I thought, well, I'll use the rhythmic pattern that I've already got programmed, that gub, 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 bum, gub. It's like starts on beat 1, dotted 8th, 16th, 8th note rest, you know, and 8th note, but like 1 end, that to the end, but with a tambourine thing going. Anyway, I thought, well, everybody goes down the toms, I'll go up the toms. Boom, blast, and went off and did a whole bunch of other stuff, and he went, no. Now here's the moment. He said no, and you've got 5 guys in the control room in his ears giving their opinion of what's right and what's wrong. All I remember right now, thinking back, that I was walking from the control room toward the drum set knowing if I don't get this now, I could get replaced and then I'll really be fired again. Yeah. And I'm thinking, you got 20 feet to save your career. You got 15 feet, you got 10, you got 5. What the fuck are you going to do? And I'm like, go home. I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I'm sit down. I go, I guess I'll try the same thing again, but I'll start an 8th note later. I don't know if I got that from practicing stuff or what. I did that. Boom, blam, 1. And then John said, hit a cymbal. I went, poo-doo-bot. And we were off to the races. Yeah, I mean, they were digging it. And then I started going down the toms, kind of a tribute to Phil Collins. Yeah. And I realized I can't stay with that, so I add a triplet to it. Blah, blah, boom, boom. And they fucking thought that was the shit.
That's because it was the shit.
Well, and then I get into this groove. They said, do a groove, come on, groove. And so I start doing the groove. Kind of that's the program. Boom, ba-da, boom. But I was trying to I was trying to get to the floor tom on beat 4. You're not going to believe this, but the influence was Steve Gadd playing on a Chick Corea record called Leprechaun.
Oh, I have that record.
Yeah, and the song was Lenore. You know how Steve goes, boom,
yeah.
Boom. So I had that in my head, so I was going, and when I would go to the floor tom, the hi-hat would open. And then John said, too much hi-hat. Long story short, I